Hello, everybody. Welcome to the pre-show. While we get the show started. Hey, everybody. Welcome to episode 48 of the Cant Logic Podcast. I accidentally called another episode that I made episode 48, so we have two episode 48, but obviously that one's going to be episode 49. So welcome to episode 48. In this episode, we're going to talk about the team dynamic.
Are you sure that's right?
What's right?
48?
No, not really.
The last thing I made you was 47.
So then it must be 48.
So then, yeah.
But then I recorded one yesterday that was called episode 48, but I'm not releasing it. I'm going to release this one because it came out first. Obviously, it's live.
Okay. You're out of control.
You're out of control.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, today we wanted to talk about the dynamic of the team in a small business. And I get a lot of people questions like, hey, my team won't do this, or they refuse to do this, or they won't participate in this thing, or something like that. And I think you have to shift, if you're in that sort of a situation, you have to shift the mindset and the functionality of the team to a mindset to where it's not everybody's equal. You have to have, obviously you have to have really good culture, and you have to take care of everybody and make sure they're happy with what's going on. But you also have leadership organized your team. They have to be able to know and understand that when you say something needs to be done, it's okay to ask why, and you should be able to tell them why and display why and give them a clear picture, but they shouldn't just refuse to do it. Because in any sort of environment outside of like the small business world, if they refuse to do it, then you refuse. Yeah, you fire them. Oh, you're not going to do that? That's cool, because I just won't pay you then.
Right.
So you need to set yourself up in a position to where it's, and I know we work with a lot of micro businesses, which is really, really small businesses. And you get into these family-like environments where everybody loves everybody and everybody's hoo-ha and happy together. But you have to make sure that it's not so oriented towards the family that it's at the detriment of your ability to lead and grow your business.
Yeah. Can't be friends with them. I mean, you can't be friends, to the point where you're like, well, I can't do this because I don't want to hurt somebody's feelings. That's I think the mindset people get into is, they want to worry about everybody else and how they feel and not actually take it seriously as like still a business owner, I'm still the boss. So, I think that's a detriment for some small businesses too. They get too friendly.
Yeah. And you've heard us talk in the past about how important culture is and making sure you take care of your team. You should always be doing things that make them excited and happy and make them pumped about the place that they work at, the things they do. Like we always used to do Pizza Friday and Taco Tuesday and go on team outings and stuff like that. But then at the same time, they need to know that when it's game day, AKA at work,
right,
it might be a relaxed environment. It might be a fun environment. But when things need to get done, and even if they don't like to do it, it still needs to happen.
Right, you can't just skip it.
Yeah, they need to have like a legitimate reason as to why they can't do it. Mm-hmm. Like one time I had someone tell me that they had a general manager refuse to get on Facebook in a group to manage their clients and members. And so it's like, well, why not? Well, he doesn't like Facebook. Okay, well, is that part of the job description? Yes. Okay, then you should fire that person.
Right.
He should have some sort of reprimand where, okay, maybe you aren't good material for the general manager. Maybe you shouldn't be in this position. Maybe you should go mop the floors. You don't have to get on Facebook for that.
Can be a janitor.
Yeah, which isn't a bad thing. Maybe we have a better role somewhere else for you.
Right.
So I think it's really important that you get in the mindset and understand that you have to be able to functionally lead your team. And I think it's hard for people who are leaders as well if they're not naturally in leadership material or naturally born leaders, because they don't necessarily like telling people what to do. Mm-hmm. They don't feel good about telling people what to do, and they don't have enough confidence in themselves to actually tell people what to do and then back it up. That was a segue for you.
Long, awkward pause.
Yeah, what happened?
I don't know. I was just kind of listening, not really thinking while I was listening, though.
Oh, it's called active listening.
Yeah, I was just listening.
So I think the way you set yourself up to be in a good position to do this is your team obviously needs to know and understand that when you say to do something, it needs to happen. And for me, if I say, oh, this needs to happen, and someone asks why, that's great. I'm not going to tell them because I said so, because that's a douchey leadership capability. Don't say because I said so. That's how you get your team upset and hate you. You don't want your team to hate you. But if they ask why, then, oh, hey, good, thanks for asking why. I appreciate the fact that you're interested in this. Let's talk about what's going on. Let's talk about the reasonings why we're doing this. Let's talk about where this is going to take us, and let's talk about where we're at 2 years from now from starting to do these things. And if they truly listen and you actually give them the spiel about what's going on in the vision, and you can pump them up about it, they're going to be excited about it. So you not only told them what to do, but then you included them in the vision, and you included them in the reasonings and all that. And so they're going to feel important.
Yeah.
So I think part of it is making your team feel like they're important and they're in a position to where they can always talk to you and ask you questions and a lot of that. But at the same time, if something doesn't get done, so if I tell you to do something and then we give you a deadline and it doesn't happen or you don't meet that deadline, it's not like, oh, well, let's just forget about it and worry about it next week. It's what happened. Oh, I just didn't get it done. Well, why didn't you get it done? Why? I'm going to ask you why 3 or 4 times before we pull out the real reasoning behind why you didn't get it done or what's going on. And then if it functionally comes down to the fact that you didn't do it because you didn't want to, then you're going to be in trouble for that. And it's going to be like, all right, well, maybe you shouldn't be in a position to do this anymore. Are you sure you can handle this stress? Are you sure this was a good opportunity for you to jump into? And it's going to be a yes or no. And you always give people 2 or 3 chances before you get rid of them or before you demote them or remove them from their position. But I think you just have to set them up like that so they understand and know that you are going to hold them accountable for what they need to do.
Yeah. 2 chances is usually a pretty good amount of chances. And why is like, I hate the question why, but to an extent, like a few whys are okay, Chandler. But when you get why every other sentence or response that you put out, then it's like, okay, if you're not getting the time, yeah.
Steph loves the why.
I hate why.
I ask her why 3 times for every single thing she asks me, and she gets really mad at me. Well, I just want to understand what's going on.
I give you an answer the first why, though, and then I still get 10 more whys afterwards.
Because it's usually like a vague why. And you'll find the first answer behind a why for anybody is always a hidden why. It's
true.
Because of this. And it's a super like politically correct why. Then you ask them for the second why, and it's a little deeper into their pains. And then you ask them the third why, and it's like, all right, dude, shut your mouth. I'm going to tell you everything that's wrong with me.
Right, exactly.
You just opened up a can of worms, which is actually a great sales tool and a great management tool, because you need to pull this out of your employees, and they need to know and understand that you're going to pull this out of them, and you're going to continuously ask them these questions.
I'm going to beat your brother.
He's asking why now. So I think when you're leading your team, when you're in a management position, you need to make sure that you're organized enough and you're confident enough to ask people why, and you're confident enough to approach them and ask them, hey, this didn't get done, what's going on? Because I know it's really hard to get in the position to where you have to be the jerk or you have to be the person to hold people accountable. But if you're not the person who holds people accountable and you don't put yourself in that position, you're going to have a chaotic team that just does whatever they want.
Right.
The result of that is a business that doesn't run efficiently, a business that runs wild, and a business that you eventually have to go back and regain control of, which is not a position you want to be in, because you need to be able to dictate and manage what's going on.
Right. And you should always, it's probably going to happen. Hopefully you're listening and like taking heed of what we're saying, but don't let it happen. If it does happen though, like learn from it the first time. Don't let it happen again. Because it is it's a mess to clean up basically for you.
Yeah. And
it's never fun.
Yeah, it's not fun. In business, you're going to screw this up a bunch of times. You're going to have to learn and develop in your own leadership, because generally you open this thing because you loved what it was, and you probably hated the thing you were doing beforehand, and then you got into this and realized it's a whole new ball game. It's not just what you love to do. It's a big thing. And just don't make the same mistake twice. Don't make the same mistake 3 times. Make it 1 time, learn from it, adjust, reevaluate, switch it up, and then never do that again. And I think that'll put you in the best position. So, and get some confidence in yourself. You started this thing. You took the risk. You took all of the financial things that it came with. You took everything, and then you hired people to help you and you paid these people to be part of what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't put that initial risk in. They didn't put the 100-hour days to get it started. They didn't come into it at any point in that. They came in on the employee side. So
Right.
they're there to get paid to do what they want to do or what they enjoy doing because you hired them for it and they obviously wanted to be part of it. But you have to understand that they are in the employee mindset, and
Mm-hmm.
you have to understand these two different mindsets as well. So there's the entrepreneur mindset, which is where the business owner and the leaders are in. And that's, I did this, I have a blank canvas, I can make my decisions and I'm going to move forward and I'm going to adjust and modify and be flexible. And then there's the employee mindset, which is I need a linear pathway. I need someone to tell me what I need to do, how I need to do it, and give me a process to do it. And in the employee mindset, they can be flexible as well, and they can have their own thoughts and ideas, but they still need to be led and they still need to be able to make it happen, because a lot of these guys are able to go home and shut it off at night.
Right. They don't have to worry about it like you do.
Exactly.
As the entrepreneur, as the owner, as the leader.
The person at the top.
Right.
Now, if you're lucky enough to organize and build into a startup-based team, then you're going to have a bunch of people who will work all day and all hours of the night with you, but they're still going to be in this employee mindset. So you still need to make sure and understand that you do weekly or bi-weekly team meetings with these guys. You're asking them what's going on. You're giving them deadlines. Don't ever let everything be open-ended, because then things don't get done. Things get procrastinated on. You need to make sure that you have deadlines established and you basically hold them accountable to get things done, because if you don't, then they're always going to know that they can get away with it. And then you'll have people who just do whatever they want.
Yep. They just walk all over you.
Exactly. And we see it a lot in the micro business and the small business world. You're so close together and you don't understand it or realize it. And you feel bad being the guy who has to be at the top, or the woman who has to be at the top, or the leaders who are at the top in a partnership.
Right.
But you really need to adjust that mindset. Like, I need to make sure this thing runs, this thing functions, and this thing is going to move forward continuously and always be okay. Because chances are you're going to keep a chunk of your employees, but they're not going to be around forever. You're the one who's going to be part of it, running it, managing it, and making it work for the long run. And if you're in that mindset, you'll know that you're always going to be in a position to where you have to drive the business forward, and it's ultimately your responsibility, because the employees and the people below you always have the opportunity to, maybe a headhunter gives them another job somewhere, maybe they find something to do. So you need to make sure that they understand that you're driving it forward and what you say needs to happen. And even though you have a good culture and you put them in a position to where they can ask and they can have questions and let's have fun together. What do you think, Steph?
Yeah, sounds great. Makes sense.
Yeah. So if you're in a position to where you're here, here's how you start with this. If you feel like you're in a chaotic environment, in a chaotic realm, and you don't have full control over what you're doing, and you can't grasp how to lead a team, it's get them organized. You need to sit down, write down your why and your vision and where you want this thing to be and where each person fits into that vision. And then over the course of a month or so, you need to meet with each one of your employees individually in a little 15-minute meeting and explain the why, explain how you want the whole thing to function and work, explain your expectations, and then ask them why 3 times as to whether or not they understand it. The first time they're going to say yes, then you say, okay, well, are you sure? Well, okay, and then you're going to get a bunch of questions. So you need to make sure you tell them, like, hey, you can be comfortable saying anything in here. I'm not going to hold it against you. This is what we're doing. Do these expectations fit what you want to do moving forward? And most of the time, everybody will stay and they'll be pumped about it, especially if you can display that. But then it's going into weekly, like little weekly team huddles. Okay, here's what we're doing. Here's what we accomplished. Here's what we're shooting for next week. Here's your responsibilities. And let's meet we're going to meet next week and we'll go over where we're at, what our progress looks like. So you need something like this. And you can't say, oh, I don't have time for that. If you don't have time to manage your team, then you have time to fail in your whole business, and you have time for this entire thing to fall apart and collapse because you can't manage the thing.
Probably shouldn't have opened a business.
Exactly. So just block off an hour in your schedule, block off an hour in each one of your employees' schedule for your little weekly meetings after your individual meetings, and then make sure you continuously do that moving forward. And every meeting is opened by, okay, what did we accomplish last week? Where are we at this week? What are your plans for the following week? Who has ideas? Who has comments? Who has questions? And stuff like that. And then maybe one of those meetings every month is a big meeting where you really map things out and organize all the strategies and numbers behind everything. But I would keep the weekly meetings short, like 15 minutes, just so you guys can talk, so you guys can stay working together and you understand what everyone's doing and how they're functioning, how they're feeling and all that.
Yeah. And as long as you do that and stay on top of it, you're going to learn quickly too. When you ask them, what did you accomplish last week? What are we going to do this week? What are we doing next week? If they come in and say, well, I didn't accomplish anything last week, you're going to learn really fast. Like the repetitive people who do that are like, okay, well, maybe you're not the right fit for the place, you know? So that'll be able to kind of like give you that early warning sign too of like, maybe this person isn't right. So.
Exactly. And so then this is what you do. You have this going on, like Steph's saying, you're talking to these people, you're recognizing the people who aren't capable of actually doing it, who are like scapegoating out or making excuses. And then once a quarter, you do a quarterly review. And this is when you keep people, tell them they're amazing, give them bonuses, or let people go. Like, hey, over the past 3 months, you haven't done a lot. I've noticed that you've slacked. I've got a lot of excuses, and I just don't think this is going to be a good fit.
Yeah.
And you have to be strong enough and smart enough and know that you're important enough to say that and to let that work and to let that person go and understand that they might have some hard feelings or anything like that. But set it up. That's just the way business works.
Yeah. That's when you have to be the boss and not a friend, and take care of whatever you have to take care of.
Exactly.
You can't let the business fail just because you want all your friends to lollygag around and cruise through, doing whatever they feel like they need to do. So
that's it. And so you can have the best relationships with your whole team. Everybody loves you. You have this great dynamic, but you're always going to get one or two people who just aren't a good fit, who don't make sense. And that's when you have to have that conversation, because if you drag it on, you're just wasting resources and wasting everybody else's energy.
Yep.
So that's how you need to flow when you're the leader and you're the top of the business chain, or you're the manager of your department, or you own your business and you're managing your small team. It's your job to meet with these people, like once a week team meetings, and then maybe once a month you meet with everybody individually. I keep these once a week meetings to 15 minutes, individual meetings to 15 minutes. It's just a chat, like, hey, how you doing? And we can go out to lunch. We can even do this over a beer or something and hang out, just so it's not so formal.
Right.
And then you compile everything you learn from these people, like who's doing well, who's not doing well, who's making excuses, who's not making excuses, and then you go over it every quarter you do a review with these people. Here's where you're at, here's where I'm at, here's how I feel. Talk to me about where you're at. And understanding that you have a dynamic to where you have to create a culture of caring around your business, to where and all your employees and your whole team knows and understands that you'll go to the ends of the earth with them. You do anything you can to take care of them. At the same time, you expect them to do the same in return.
Right.
It's a two-way streak.
Streak?
Yeah.
Streak.
Two-way streak.
There you go.
Yeah. You're a jerk. You ruined everything. And remember, in this two-way street, apparently, you're always going to have to give a little more. And they're going to give back, and you make sure they do give back, but you're always going to have to. There's this concept of you give 51% and they give 49%, and that's kind of where it needs to be. You're always going to give more than you receive, and that's the qualities and the part of being a leader that makes it so exciting and fun. All right, guys, I think this was a pretty good episode. If you have any questions about the team dynamic, leadership, running your team, meetings, any of the stuff we talked about today, if you're struggling managing your team or you're having problems, shoot us an email. We'll help you work through it.
Yep.
We've actually recently just started doing meetings with people's teams, and we walk through everything and help them with it. So it's been a pretty cool exercise. We've done a lot of interviews with a lot of different staff members and owners and a lot of that stuff. And even the people at the hospital I talked to, like, what was it, 2 years ago?
Couple of years now, yeah.
They still talk to me about how amazing the talk we had with them was, really pulling them out, making it was a big hospital, making their departments work together. So if you guys have anything you want to talk about, shoot us an email, chandler@stoneagefuel.com, or you can shoot me a Facebook message. Just jump on my Facebook Messenger, and that's all she wrote.
Oh, God.
How do you like that, Steph?
No.
All right, you guys, we will see you later.
Bye.
See ya.